pushed at the light. Little boy at the time, sinking away. Little boy, don't be afraid.
Hello, friends and vinyl lovers. Uncle Roddus back again with another record vinyl video. Bunch of new stuff coming over the last few weeks. It's slowed down a wee bit. I'm just trying to pull back from spending too much money. Trying to save some money, trying to get finished paying my mortgage off and stuff, which I've been trying to do for the last few years, but still I'm pretty well ahead of the ball game. I think I've shown this one before. This is fairly new, new out, released a month or two ago. All good Absolute Alternative Records. A label that I have several records of a lot of different stuff. There's a real mix of stuff. This is pretty accessible. It's what's playing in the background, and I got to see her play live recently. Now, totally new to me. I think I've shown this before. Lee Morgan is her name, Gypsy Soul, and I thought this was maybe her first LP, but it's not. I think it's her first on vinyl, but she actually has a CD out prior to this. So I saw she was playing a gig in town, and I'm really enjoying this. It's kind of poppy, country, great singer. And I was thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind going to see her, so I went along. Didn't like the venue very much. It was actually, it was very full, surprisingly. It was a very popular venue, and she obviously is reasonably popular on the local scene, so I'd never heard of her before, but yeah, really good live show. It was one of those venues where everyone sits around at tables and has meals, and they have a few drinks, so there's a lot of talking going on. Although fortunately for the support act, for her it was a bit better, but there wasn't a lot of spaces for us non-eating people, which there were a few strays like me floating around. I'd never been there before, so yeah, I know next time. But yeah, it's not a lot that play at that venue, I suspect anyway, that I would enjoy that much. But she put on a fantastic show, great band. She had with her. She's a real show woman. Yeah, really cool. So I really enjoyed that gig. So a bunch of New Zealand stuff. I was bidding on Trade Me from actually got a bunch of this stuff from the same seller, and I picked this one up, and I've been after it for a wee while. And it's a band called Opossum, and this is Cody Nielsen from Unlimited Mortal Orchestra, and originally from the Mint Chicks back in the early 2000s. So this is kind of an in-between project that he did. This was the only record they put out. It was the only album they put out. Now this isn't, as you can see, it's a 7-inch collection. Now I'm really a bit pissed because I don't really want the 7-inch collection. To be honest, I didn't even know that it existed. I thought it was a 12-inch album, and the photo on Trade Me basically just showed me that. It didn't show me the records or anything. And didn't say anything in the description as to what it was. So I don't know whether that seller didn't even know that there was a 12-inch version, but it's on 3 7-inch 45 RPM records. There's about 3 tracks on each. Well, a couple of tracks on one and two, one of them, and then a couple of tracks on per side, whatever. 3 different coloured pieces of vinyl collector's edition of 1,000 numbered copies, this being number 137. It was sealed. So obviously, yeah, it's a collector. The music's great, really like it, but it's a pain in the ass playing it. So I may try and pick up the 12-inch version. It's reasonably cheap. I've never seen it in the shops locally. It was put out in 2012, but there's plenty of copies floating around on Discogs. Unfortunately, from overseas, which kind of shags it up because of the mail. I can never get that frickin' cover on. Also, I picked up some old stuff from the same seller, some reasonably cheap ones, which aren't too uncommon. This is my first record by this person, Max Merritt and the Meters. Max is from my hometown of Christchurch, and he is, or was, one of the original rock and rollers way back in the 50s. There was Johnny Devlin in the North Island, and there was Max Merritt in the South Island from Christchurch. He was 15 in 1956 when he started his rock and roll band. I'm not familiar with any of the music he put out that far back because that doesn't really appeal to me, but he basically was a musician for his whole life. He passed away just a couple of years ago, 2020, at the age of 79. This is a record that he put out from 1975, A Little Easier. So by this time they'd gone pretty much sort of funky pop rock, and this is really good LP. On the last track on the second side is a very famous New Zealand song called Slipping Away, which I was familiar with from perhaps my younger days. I'm not sure, he didn't put out a huge amount of records over that huge long career, but there are several albums, a few before this one, a couple in the 50s or late 50s and the 60s. I think that there's a lot of dust on my needle, it's not playing very well. Yeah, anyway, so this is the first record I've picked up from Max. There isn't, I don't think his earlier stuff would interest me that much, but there is another record just under his name and not the Meteor's name, which he put out not too far away from this one in the 70s, which I hear is pretty good. He was in America for a lot of the later part. He actually died over there while he was living there, like the other year. Another one who's passed away a few years ago from the New Zealand music scene is Ray Columbus and the Invaders. They were one of the biggest bands in New Zealand in the 60s. They had a great, huge song called She's a Mod, which is a real Beatles type song that came out in 1965, I think it was, or 64. Real Beatles type song. Not an original, which is surprising. I didn't know that until not that long ago. It was actually an English song written by some English band or something, I don't know. But that was the case in New Zealand music back then. It wasn't a lot of original music. So a lot of stuff on this is cover versions. Ray did put out a whole LP of original songs with the Invaders this is a compilation that came out in 1966 after the band had already split. Ray went on to do some solo stuff. I have one of his solo records which I quite enjoy, but some of the other stuff really is not my cup of tea. In the mid-70s, he did a record with the Stargazers, which was basically an old rock and roll's cover LP of 50s rock and roll, and I had a copy of it. I really did not like it at all, and I got rid of it. And this one's super obscure New Zealand funk pop band from 1977, I think. This is their only LP. They put out 3 singles. Most of the songs came from this LP on those singles. Yeah, side 1's quite funky, quite cool. Side 2, there's a couple of ballads I don't like that much. But yeah, good playing, good band, interesting band. Yeah, wasn't really familiar with them. There's a lot of bands called Red Eye. If you try and find them on Discogs, there's quite a lot of them. But this is the New Zealand one, and yeah, very obscure. Not a huge collector's item. I didn't have to pay a huge amount for it, but you do not see it around. But yeah, musically it's okay, but it's not great. That's probably why it's not collecting a lot of money. Was pleased to jump on this. This is a new EP from Garbage in the Flowers, out on Fire Records. 6 tracks? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's a 45 RPM record. Let me see. Yeah, 2 tracks on side 1. Yeah, 45 RPM. And 3 on the so just a 5-track EP. I've got a couple of their other ones. I've got a really early one that they did because they've been around for like 25 plus years. got a really early one that was a reissue, a double LP, which is fantastic. Real Velvet Underground influenced band. So yeah, been around for many years, but just put out sporadically, put out LPs. And then the new one out from Nuggies, their first full-length LP. I've got an EP, a real good punky, massive production sound on their punky one, their EP. This is a full LP. Haven't played it a lot yet, actually. I've had it a couple of weeks. Just been a bit too busy with other stuff. But yeah, not bad. Not as punky as their earlier EP, perhaps. Bit more of a mix of styles in it. But yeah, I think this is an edition of about 200. Got it through their Bandcamp. Finally, after quite a long wait, this has turned up in the post. This is Of Pain, OVPAIN. Cowley Island is the track on Tender Collection. They're based in Melbourne, Australia now, but they're from Dunedin. So I picked up their first LP several years ago while they were still here. They didn't really do much since they went over to Australia, as in putting out new music. I guess they played a lot of live stuff over there maybe, and that's how they're getting on, surviving, and whatever else they're involved in. But last year or the year before, they put out a record, which I can't remember the name of, which we really enjoyed, and it was a big departure from their first LP. And then this one here is quite different again. And this came out as a special edition, a limited edition of 50. 50, yeah. This is number 23 of 50. Now, I ordered this off their Bandcamp like quite some time ago, and it took an age to get here, and I actually ended up contacting the band and saying what's happened, and they didn't know anything about it. The record label that was taking care of it hadn't done anything about sending them out, and so they contacted them and said, oh, yep, they're on their way, so they did turn up finally. And then today, my wife and I went into town. We went to the movies today and saw a movie which we didn't enjoy that much, which is a bit unfortunate. It was a New Zealand movie, Nude Tuesday it was called, and yeah, we thought it was a bit lame, to be honest. But went to Penny Lane and had a look around. They had lots of good stuff, lots of interesting stuff that I would have brought if I A, had more money, and B, I didn't already have them on CD, so I didn't need to do that. But I did pick up 2 records from them today, and one of them is this compilation, Voltage 80, a vinyl chapter. This is the 3rd volume in the Voltage series that came out in the 78, 79 and 80. These were Brighton bands from the south of the UK, at Brighton area apparently. Really obscure post-punky stuff, very obscure. Never heard of any of the bands, not familiar with any of the music, but I do have one of the other volumes, so I grabbed it to add to my collection. Interesting stuff, quite cool. And then finally today, I was really pleased to find this. What is it called? I don't know. Lucinda Williams. Now, this is her 19, must be self-titled. This is her 1989 LP, New Zealand pressing, her 3rd record, I believe, from what I can see on Discog. She put two records out, one in the late 70s and one in the early, and one in 1980, which apparently went pretty much unnoticed in the world of music, and then she had a bit of a break, or there was quite a few years between them and this one, which is, like I say, 1989. So kind of in essence, this is maybe, you could almost say this is her debut LP. I think the music's quite a lot different from the earlier 2, but I couldn't say for sure. But this is a very Americana, very country infused, really nice record. Now I knew that I'd heard a track way back from, I think on an uncut record from way back in an uncut compilation, and it was a track by her really early stuff, and I really enjoyed it. And yes, it was on this record, Change the Locks, the last song on side 1. That is a really, really cool song. So I've had a bit of a, I've been aware of Lucinda for quite a long time, mainly a lot through Uncut magazine. I never really got into it that much. I didn't like her voice, didn't appeal to me that much, but I kind of got used to it now after the Good Souls LP that she put out a couple of years ago. Really good record. And so I've gotten a bit used to it because she's not as gravelly vocalised on this earlier stuff. But yeah, I'm really bloody enjoying this. This is a great record. So yeah, picked that up. So yeah, today. So pleased to find those. I was very restrained today because I don't have a lot of money spare at the moment for this sort of stuff until some people pay me. Yeah, so that's me again, another video. You'll probably see this video in about 6 months' time, but it is early July, so we're in the middle of winter. Yeah, cold, wet, miserable. Just good time for buying and listening to music. Right, see you again next time. Cheers, bye.